Cesar, the crowd pleaser. If you need to pick me up, ladies, we gon' change your demeanor. Cesar, the crowd pleaser. We gon' do a little dance, we gon' make the naysayers believe us. Hey girl, had a long day, you tired from work. Throw me some dollars and I'll remove my shirt. You can touch me too, these are the perks. Free yourself, lose your mind and go berserk, and go berserk, and go berserk, and go berserk.
Make way for the bad guy.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back for another episode of Crowd Pleaser, the podcast that brings you the inside scoop on what it takes to be a male entertainer in today's age. I'm your host, Cesar the Crowd Pleaser, and today is episode 61, where we're going to be talking about sometimes falling short of our goals. That's right. It's something that everyone has to kind of push through every once in a while in their life, some more than others. I know I am victim of that from all my trials and tribulations. But yeah, so we're going to go into that. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. Want to mention our Patreon, patreon.com/crowdpleaser. This is a great website and platform where the audience can give back to the entertainers that they appreciate their content. Give back as little as $1 a show. And it goes a long way towards helping me continuing to make all this content for you all. You get a bunch of neat perks based on what tier level you are pledged at, including free prints that I mail to you signed every month, as well as full photos of all of the entire photo shoot and behind the scenes footage of scene creation and whatnot. Definitely check it out. Every show I like to call out a specific Patreon, and this week it's going to be Misty Hicks. Misty, you rock. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. I really appreciate it. It goes a long, long way for me to know I'm going on the right path and to keep making your drive a little bit easier to work. Next up is LeBear Dallas. That's right. This is my home office and of my not one but two special guests that are going to be on the show this week. We operate 5 nights a week, Wednesday to Sunday, 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. And we are pretty much the ultimate destination for ladies' nights out. That's right. Doesn't matter if it's bachelorette party, birthday party, divorce party, got a raise party, quinceañera. Well, maybe not quinceañera, but baby shower, you name it. Hey, I just got a new house party. You name it, you guys can come out, celebrate with the men of LeBear and have a great time. So definitely check it out. And finally, for my shameless plug, I am now streaming live. That's right, you can hang out with me and chit chat with me while I'm doing all kinds of my side hustles to include circus performance, fire performances, and cosplay creation and whatnot at twitch.tv/Jedi_EJ. Imagine it being a talk show, but live, where you guys can talk to me and we hang out. Definitely check it out every Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday mornings. All right, that is it. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring in our two guests. Or let his cough introduce him. So we have, oh, see, whatever you just did got rid of that hum. So that electronic hum was definitely coming from your end.
It was probably the converter on my microphone. I actually just adjusted the volume. Maybe it's because I moved the actual converter itself.
Oh, okay, well, you're low again, so unconvert it.
How's this?
There you go.
I was looking down.
Ah, got you.
I was looking at it when I was talking about it, so I wasn't by the mic. My bad.
Got you. The eyeball works too good. We might have to get rid of it for the podcast.
Man, hold up.
All right, so the man on the mic, or at least trying to be on the mic, he is the king of Northwest, Southeastern, Regional, North Texas, South, passing the west of the Mississippi, king of the Lone Star State, and singer-songwriter, freestyle rapper, phenomenal entertainer, and a good friend of mine. Welcome on the show, Mandingo Jones.
Can you record that for my intro for this Sunday's strip off, please?
Yeah,
Can you record that? Because that's... What's up, y'all? I'm here in the building. Well, not really, but I am in the building in spirit. Mandingo Jones on the ones and twos here on the Crowd Pleaser reality show. What is the deal?
We should do a live show, though, on Twitch one of these days. Do like a Q&A. So stay tuned. Pay attention to social media. I think the next episode we might do that. All right. Next guest I have. He's been on here before. Phenomenal entertainer. Super creative. Self-driven. He is a male fitness model. He is a photographer. He has his own small business in production and, what's the word? Advertisement. I want to welcome back on the show, Suave the Dream. What is up, brother?
Hey, what's up? How y'all doing?
How you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right, man. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Yep, Suave is actually in the studio. That's right, the Crowd Pleaser studio. He's out here. We're going to go do a photo shoot after this and work on some editing skills and kind of trade craft. So you guys get a special 3 for today. So, believe it or not, this topic was actually brought up by Dingo. We were talking about various topics that we can talk about over the course of the next couple of months, and he brought this one up on a spur, like a completely random text, and I thought it was a great idea. So, Dingo, where do you want to go with this? Tell me, what did you have in vision when you thought about this topic?
Well, first and foremost, let me go ahead and Can y'all hear me clearly?
Yeah, crystal.
Good. Okay. Let me go ahead and introduce what the topic is. Failures, losses, L's, shortcomings. We've all had them in many different areas, but, we rarely have spoken about them on the show and how they affect us. And, so I thought it would be interesting to not only get my take on it, but y'all's as well, and examples of certain shortcomings. Now, we have a few categories when it comes to them. The primary two, I would say, would be shortcomings financially, like you're aiming for a certain goal on a certain night, or you're aiming for a certain goal in a month, or you're not sure why you're not progressing financially yet, which everyone has been there, especially when they first start as an entertainer. But those, I'm sure a lot of people have stories about those sort of shortcomings. Another category.
Not me, bro. I don't know about you, but I got a perfect track record.
Man, dog, it must be nice. Must be nice to be the golden boy.
To stare and gaze upon perfection.
Hey, man, you sounded like you were just narrating your own aerials.
Actually, I was trying to channel my inner Escanor, to be honest, but I need to start incorporating that to my regular speech.
Oh man, you're gonna have to be more rude than that.
Fair, I'm working on it.
Have to be way more rude than that. So, another category as far as shortcomings go is this hits a lot more home for the dancers, but the strip-offs. You want to place higher or something, like you wanted to place first, or you thought you were going to place first, or you put so much into something and so much time and stressed yourself out so much, but you got no placing or something like that. You know what I'm saying? That's another. Mm-hmm. That is another. Oh man, I have this. There are many an example of those, not just for myself, but for multiple people that have experienced that I was there for. So I would say we should start with those two categories first, and then we can kind of sift in the other ones, because those would be the most two important to a dancer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I got you.
I'm curious to know. I say we should start with. Financial shortcomings.
All right.
Like, how was it for you, Cesar, when you first started as a dancer?
So, funny story. For me, it was a little bit more of a struggle, and I'll tell you why. Because I essentially was working 3 jobs at the time when I started working at LeBaire. So I was working UPS in the mornings, and then from there I would go and literally, not even joking, get in a little car with a giant cartoon on the side and drive around to different people's lots and scoop dog poop for them. And then I would do that, and when I was done, I had just enough time to go home and shower, and then sometimes take a 30-minute power nap, sometimes not, and then drive to LeBaire and work all night.
Cool.
So I started serving tables because there was no way I was going to get on stage. And then eventually I did. I got on stage, made way more money, so I figured this is something I want to do. But making more money as an entertainer, or dancer, performer, stripper versus a waiter at a strip club, I mean, it's not difficult to do. So needless to say, as soon as I started dancing, people were talking, it was extremely competitive in a friendly kind of way. It was one of those things like, I can do more pull-ups than you. It was kind of one of those things like, hey, I made a lot more money on my stage than you. So we were fairly open about the amount of money that we'd make, at least in certain scenarios. And it would motivate us. And so I always felt short. It just is what it is. You know, when you start, you don't have the fan base that you have, and GP will help you. But let's just be honest. You know, you get 80% of your money from 20% of your fans, and so it was one of those things where it was something to go home every night, knowing that I didn't make what I had the potential of making, at least in my own mind, considering what other people were making. I did understand that I had a lot to learn, though, and I was new in the game. But also a little bit of cushion is the fact that that wasn't my sole income because I had 2 other jobs. Granted, I would have liked to quit at least one of those other jobs, so that was a motivation to get to my goals and make more. But I think the fact that I wasn't expecting to be amazing. I've never had an ego. I've never been the most amazing at anything in my life right off the bat. I've never been a natural. That, like, it was kind of a familiar place to know I could be making more, but not quite there. And I did feel like this was one job where the more effort you put into it, the more money you can make. And so I found solace only in the fact that, like, hey, you're not there yet, but it is a yet. And as long as you keep driving, you keep learning, you keep asking questions, you keep pushing, then you will get there. And one of the benefits of starting off low is that my bar was set low. And it's one of those things, I'm a very big component of intermediate goals. Like, yes, I want to make $1 million in a year, but I'm not going to, I'm not naive enough to think I'm going to start at a minimum wage job and make $1 million that year. Like, I know I have to go from minimum wage to a promotion, to a raise, to a lateral promotion, et cetera, et cetera. And then over time, I'll get there. Just like when I coach people on, fitness and gaining weight and losing weight and getting stronger. So I was nowhere near the goal that I wanted to achieve financially, but I did set goals for myself. And slowly, starting at the bottom, you got nowhere to go but up. So as long as every month I was doing better, then that was enough to motivate me through the fact that I wasn't making nearly as much as I wanted to, or that I could use to quit one of my other jobs.
That's very well said. You're absolutely right. When you know that you have further to go and you are willing to do what it takes to go further, then at some point you're going to reach a breaking point. You know what I'm saying? At some point you're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Say it how you want it, but at some point you're going to succeed. You might succeed. Honestly, what's so funny about that is when you start to apply, as we call nowadays, when you start to apply that kind of pressure to the situation, when you start to put that kind of effort into something on a regular basis, you build that consistency, you succeed when you least expect it. All the times that you expected to succeed and you failed are counteracted by times you least expect to succeed, and all of a sudden, bam, there's something there. There's a credential, there's a W, there's a win, there's more money, there's something. So yeah, that's absolutely, I think that was one thing that kept me going. I knew I had further to go, and I think I knew I had potential. You know what I'm saying? When you know you have potential, you understand that potential by itself is just useless. It doesn't mean anything because there's nothing being applied to it. It's something that will never be. So when you're actively applying something to your potential and you just know and you're just waiting with your hands out, like something's going to drop in it at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you do that consistently, it's really, really hard to lose that faith. Or else, why else? If you were going to lose that faith, why else would you be doing it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I do have to say that while we're on the failure part, it definitely wasn't a upwards climb nonstop. There was some jagged ups and downs. It was a roller coaster. There would be times where my money increased, but there'd be times where it dropped. And it kind of worked both ways for me. One, it was a little, concerning because I was like, man, what did I do wrong? What happened? Like, is this the best I can do? But it also fired me up to like, hey, this means I have to stay the course. I have to keep doing what I'm doing, keep improving, and stay hungry for it. I can't slack. I have not arrived. I have not achieved the goal that I need to. And it was a reality check and a humbling experience to know that I have to keep pushing. Like, is that something that you experienced, Suave?
Yeah, definitely. You know, you're always gonna feel resistance, and from my experience, and I've heard this before, but when you experience it, that's when you realize it. Is that moments in your life when you feel the most resistance? A lot of times you're doing something right. When things just seem too easy all the time, then I feel like you have a tendency to become comfortable and not really assess all the variables in the current situation that you're in. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point that I think is emphasized in this line of work is the fact that like you can't let up. In some jobs, not all. There are plenty of jobs where you have to work hard nonstop, but there are some jobs that there's an ebb and flow, but like for example, let's say any salary job, right? Any salary based job. Yes, typically most jobs are a salary. It means you're going to work more than you're getting paid for because that's why they go to salary. They're not going to keep paying you to do less work. But let's just be honest, if you're a hard worker and you're efficient, sometimes you do get to work less, a week or a day, and you still make the same. Versus in this job, you don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
You have to act like you have no idea how much you're going to make that week or that month and give it the same drive and hunger that you did when you were still trying to increase your income and pay your bills to maintain that. Because if you slack, you will see it in your wallet. It's just inevitable, I feel. Dingo?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The minute you go ahead. What you about to say?
No, go ahead. Finish your sentence.
I was gonna say the minute you start to let up and you break that consistency and you miss that step, I mean, it could be a real hard fall.
Yeah.
Think about that, like how many people in anything, not just dancing, all across the board have a certain way about them in the beginning because of their hunger, and then they kind of lose that way. And then you see how it affects them in the latter part of their career.
So let me flip it on you guys a little bit, because we're talking about, it being ahead and a goal you're trying to achieve and sometimes getting there. But like, so what about a long-term goal when it comes to finance? Like, for example, I'll throw a little bit of my snippet in there. I've always tried to retire early. I want to make enough money where my money is making me money to where I don't have to work. So I can retire and do all the things that I want to do and not be trapped in a job, right? Well, I won't lie. When I was bodyguarding, I was making pretty good money. The trade-off was that I spent the majority of my time overseas and didn't get to quote unquote enjoy life. And so I had a set time, like, okay, I'm going to try to retire by I'm 35, and I was investing aggressively. Then, I decided that line of work isn't for me anymore. I moved on and I ended up becoming an entertainer, working as a personal trainer, et cetera, et cetera. And, the income changed. So my goal had to change. And now I had to be real with myself and realize that I was not going to make that retire at 35 goal. So I had to push it to 40. And, it took a little bit. It took a little bit of realizing that even if I tighten down a little bit more or invest a little more aggressively or et cetera, that was something that I wasn't going to achieve. So how was I going to handle it? And I decided to stay on the path, just give myself a longer time frame, and I was okay with that. What kind of long-term financial goals, whether it's to buy a house, maybe upgrade you rent from rent, or what kind of things have you guys seen where you might have not succeeded and you had to kind of push through a pit trap, so to speak? Suave, you can take this one first.
I think the first thing that I struggled with, and a lot of entertainers struggle with, is getting their first production off the ground, like a solid show. Because what a lot of people don't understand is it's the same concept as any other business. You have to spend money to make money. So if you're trying to make the best show possible and maximize your potential, then you could easily invest, a couple $100 to maybe even a couple $1,000s in a show. Now, if you're first starting out, it's your first show, I would say it's realistic to invest maybe, a couple $100 in a show. That's buying props, if you utilize props, costumes, because you're not just buying costumes for yourself, you're buying costumes for your backups. A lot of times that's like the big chunk of your money, because you're like, okay,
you need three or four of everything.
Yeah, because you don't want your guys to just look whack, basically.
Yeah.
You want everything to be cohesive and on point, and you want your boys to look good because look in a certain way, because they're also advertising themselves when they're on stage with you.
Yeah.
So
you want them to feel good about being on stage.
Yeah, exactly. You want them to like the clothes that they're wearing, you know. So I would say that's something that I struggled with in the beginning, and I definitely had to work side jobs as well. You know, when I first started, I was actually spinning signs on street corners.
No joke.
You know? Yeah,
I remember
the
that.
sign spinners where you hold up the sign to advertise a business, and you stand like down the street from a business or whatever. So doing that in the blazing hot sun during the summer.
Are you like
in
really
the blazing hot sun?
I was decent at it. So my thing was,
like a sign ninja?
That I did mostly dancing.
Okay.
So I wasn't really big on doing the weird tricks where they flip it up and it spins and do all this other crazy stuff and they bounce it off their hip, you know.
Yeah.
I could do like just the basic stuff, but it was good enough because you know, I'm tall, so I guess I stand out a little bit more, so you don't have to do as much. But nonetheless, it was still a difficult job because you're standing outside all day,
Texas heat,
sunlight. Yeah, Texas heat's insane. If it rains, you're still out there, you know. So dealing with the elements and then that stuff, that was, you know, difficult. But it was something I had to do in order to get my first few acts off the ground because, you know, the money doesn't come immediately in our business. Unless you're really lucky, you know, some guys are really lucky and, you know, their first week or two, they make it somehow.
See, but you know what? I feel like that's a trap. I've seen it happen too. Mm-hmm. And if I can interject for just a moment, I feel like it's a trap because you get a taste of the good life without the struggle.
Yeah.
And then that becomes your new bar. That becomes your standard.
Yeah.
So the second something happens and that's taken away, all of a sudden your world just came tumbling down versus when you had that struggle, you're kind of like, I've been here before. We know how it works. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
So go ahead.
Well, it's going to test what you're made of regardless because some people aren't built, even if they've been there before, to deal with it properly. Think of it as sort of a relapse in whatever the opposite of, well, I guess a relapse in inconsistency. Like you're back to being, because some people just have the grit. I believe personally, they just have the grit to dig themselves right back out because you understand that everything you deal with is a roller coaster. So why would your job, especially this job, be any different? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Except for this podcast. This podcast is about as consistent as rain or the sun rising or something. I don't know. Pick something consistent in your life.
We failed about 4 times to make this podcast happen.
Not to them. That's why I stay ahead. So they still get their podcast every 2 weeks, regardless.
Hey, they still getting what they served.
Thanks. I'm going to have to mark this so I edit that out. They got to know it's consistent, bro. Consistency is key. Every tutorial tells you. If you're a content creator, you got to be on a time hack. Because people will call you out. People will call you out on stuff. You don't think they will, but they will. They will.
You're taking all this out?
Nah, I'll probably just leave it in. I'm too lazy now. Plus, people like the real.
You know what I'm saying? I thought they liked the real. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. Sorry, I didn't mean to steer the conversation away, Suave.
We're talking about practice.
Practice? We talking practice? Practice.
All right. Oh, man. So, Suave, you were saying, man.
But definitely, back on the point of working multiple jobs, I feel you. It's definitely something that's necessary at some point for most guys in the industry.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times people look at the Magic Mike movie and think it's easy, but actually, if you think about the first Magic Mike movie, Mike, he actually did have a side job. He was in a construction business, and on top of that, he was trying to finance his own. What was it? He was making like chairs and tables.
Yeah, his own furniture company.
Furniture company. You know, so I like that about the movie because it really did show that, okay, we're not just, you know, dancers. We have multiple things going on. You know, there are men in the industry that actually have college degrees, you know, or currently in school. Like, we're always doing something else. And it's rare to find someone in this industry now who's made it and who lasts that only does this, you know, and I would say that's where we are dramatically different from, I guess, the female side, although a lot of them do a lot of things as well. But it's a different hustle, and
I don't know why you were, initially when you brought up the movies when you were talking about it. I thought about the second one when they were performing.
Oh yeah, the second one, you can throw that out the window. That doesn't happen. That's not what it's like, man. At all. I wish
guys are walking through the crowd and every single girl's throwing like $80 on them. Yeah, okay. So
you talking about the part with Strahan?
Beckford, maybe.
No, the whole part, man. At the end, the convention, where like every girl was just throwing hundreds on these dudes. So,
hey man, apparently those conventions are in North Carolina.
Yeah, ladies, let me go ahead and break it down for you real quick, a little behind the scenes movie magic. So we are on that set for Magic Mike XXL. I'm gonna tell you right now, all those ones and hundreds that they were throwing, play money. 100% play money, just straight up. I even think the money that you see going through the bill counter that they were passing out at the very beginning, an entirely different scene, that was play money too. The girls were throwing it because it was just paper. You can go to your local Party City, pick it up, and you can do the same thing. Don't do it at our club. It's
Please
frowned upon.
don't.
It's frowned upon in our club. But you know what I'm saying? It is.
Monopoly money.
Yeah, dude.
He told me to do it. He told me I could.
Or when they give you like Thailand money, they're like, here's 50 baht. You're like, what? Oh, great. If I ever go to Thailand, I'm good to go.
Bring some Bitcoin. I'll accept Bitcoin.
There you go. Oh, man.
You may as well pay me in gum.
I've had that happen too. It makes me feel of that one little cartoon meme. I don't know if you guys seen on social media where it's like the waitress is coming up to the table and it's like, hey, can I have a Diet Coke? And they're like, oh, is Diet Pepsi okay? And the guy responds with, can I tip you? Is Monopoly money okay?
No, I've never seen that, but that is.
Oh, it's kind of it's quick, short, to the point, but funny. Anywho,
yeah, is Monopoly money okay?
Oh man, all right. I digress. So, man, I had something for this, like a goal or something. I'm trying to remember what it was now. Oh well, Dingo, go ahead, man. Throw out your 2 cents. See if I can remember what I wanted to say on it.
Well, real quick, I would say that I had another job when I first started, and I actually, it took me longer to get to where I was just doing this than I wanted to, but right now, as far as for money, this is my only job, really. This is all I'm doing right now.
Let's touch on that for a second, because part of this is dealing with failure and shortcomings, right? So you just said that it took you longer than you wanted it to make this your sole source of income, right? So when you realized that, when you were like, you know what, I expected to kind of achieve it by now, like what did you do mentally, emotionally to surpass that or overcome it?
Absolutely nothing that I was doing before. I was already applying pressure before. I just needed to continue to do it. I needed to not give up, basically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, cool.
That's really all it was. I didn't change any of my behavior. My behavior was already fairly aggressive when it came towards trying to make acts, when it came towards trying to learn from other people, being in other people's acts. I wasn't. That's why I'm so aggressive towards y'all's rookies.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's why I attack some of them on a regular basis.
Well,
because they don't understand how much more they could be doing and how much more it would benefit them, especially in the system they're in and especially who they work for.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it used to be. If you didn't have a quality primetime show, you didn't go up at primetime.
Yeah, definitely.
Plain and simple, you know what I'm saying?
I think one of my biggest failures was learning how to dance for the women. I was dancing for myself a lot because I could already dance. I wasn't dancing like I am now. Nowhere close. I wasn't able to do most of the stuff I do now when I started dancing. I just had really good rhythm. So I could, I could hit everything I wanted to hit, but the actual ability to be able to move like I do now, oh no, it was not there. I still had that stiff football body, So I wasn't, I was just swole on stage and moving around. I could move around a bit, but, not really. So, learning to, go ahead.
Well, let's use that as a segue into section 2, which is the competitive and contest and strip off side of it, since you're talking about dancing.
Okay. Well, I don't know if, yeah, you do remember. You remember the first act that I did the voodoo-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought the floating wand was cool as hell.
Man, that one stressed me out so much. That was my first one originally because I got Because I Got High one from Cherokee. I bought that and then it was modified for me. So I didn't make that originally.
Mm-hmm.
But the first original act that I ever made was the voodoo one. Started out with that boom, 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 that Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Started out with that Jimmy. Yeah. So that one, I knew that, you know, I was jumping in like with the big dogs straight up because I just started in January and the first strip off was in May. And about 3 months in, XL was like, we got strip off coming up. You know what I'm saying? I know you're new, but it would be good if you made an act. I was like, say no more. So you know what I'm saying, started trying to figure things out. I didn't know how to cut music or anything like that yet. Just kind of had to ask XL for help with that. He helped me out a lot when I first got there, actually. You know what I'm saying? He was a very genuine individual when it came to guiding my career and all that. Mm-hmm. So I finally got that act cut. You know, I hadn't met y'all yet. Y'all were coming down. This is the first time I was ever going to meet anybody from another place that had their stuff together, you know. And that particular day, I didn't really feel like I fell short. I understood my place at the time. I understood I was still learning, but it was worth it for me to actually make the attempt. So the experience of going through it had already been felt. So I think the next one, I actually really fell short with the Egyptian one. I think I got fourth with that one. I fell way short of that. I thought I was going to place at least second, at least. Nobody wants to not place first, but being realistic, I thought I was going to place at least second, and I fell way short there. That was, it was painful, but it wasn't devastating. Even though I put together a lot of resources for that to happen, that was probably the most tough loss I've had.
If I can interject for a moment, I feel like that is one of the first trials and tribulations and like tests of fire and brimstone for a male stripper is the fact that your first routine, regardless of how much work, how much money, how much time you put into it, is gonna fail. I can't think of a single individual that I know that their first show, they rocked it. They just hit a home run. Mm-hmm. I think that's part of the career and the business that, you know, you want to try to reinvent the wheel, do something new, and inevitably, like literally everybody's first show always fails. So you have to have, that's your first, go ahead, throw it down.
There's one guy whose first show didn't fail. I was like, there's only one person I could think of. You're waiting for me to say it, aren't you?
I'm good. I can see your voice. I'm just waiting to see how long the audience will deal with it. Because I can see the smile slowly growing and you trying to build suspense in your head. That's why Suave and I are just chilling. But I'm wondering if they're still listening or they already hit the skip 15 seconds.
I think you actually alluded to it when you said home run.
Wait, what? No. I was trying to think, man, is there one person? And I was like, there is one.
Yeah.
I'm talking
about Juice.
Oh, you mean like in terms of actual like full on production?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
yeah, that's very
He's
true.
the only person.
Yeah.
His first show that Michael Jackson won, boom, W.
Yeah.
He didn't even. He was like, what?
Well, that's different too, because you have to understand he was a choreographer prior, so that's what he does for a living. He's a choreographer. He's a professional dancer. So, you know what I mean? That's, you know,
yeah, but he wasn't a stripper.
I feel like,
because you got to remember, it's not just the show itself; it's also how he took tips. That's a huge
That's true, but I don't think tip taking is.
They went crazy. They went crazy on that. Who run the world? Who run the world? That did it right there. That was actually after the moonwalk, and then when he went on the catwalk and hit the "Who girls run the world?" Da, 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 da. Yeah. That part, I remember how loud everybody got. Mm-hmm. That right there solidified that W because the crowd response is on there. That was a 10. Like there was no it was. I remember because I did Hammer. I got third. And my crowd response was really loud when I went down the catwalk, but it was nowhere close to as loud as that part where he threw that Michael Jackson wig off and started breaking it down in the spotlight when we had that glorious catwalk.
All right, so minus the exception to the rule, typically 98% of entertainers out there fail their first time, and they have to figure out that's a crossroad. That's a ley line. That is, hey, do I want to A, make this my standard, B, stop and just fall back into myself, or C, try harder?
Another thing too I've noticed is that sometimes your show can be solid, but it just might not suit you in terms of whatever your look is or your personality. And so the crowd doesn't receive it as well. But if someone else does it because it suits them, it makes more sense and it just does well. You know, so I think that's another element too. It's not necessarily that your show could be bad. It just might be, well, that's it's not for you. You know, and I've definitely struggled with that. I've made plenty of shows that I had to stop doing because I put so much time and energy into them. But at the end of the day, my look, I guess, just didn't work with those particular shows.
I can believe that. And that's why it's cool when you get to recycle them and kind of sell them to other people and let someone else add their personality to it and see if that's what makes the difference. But either way, we digress. So go ahead, Dingo. Going back to putting your all into shows, you were on, let's see, we talked about Michael Jackson too, or MC Hammer, but you were talking about Egyptian, which is crazy to me that you didn't win because that act is dope.
Yeah, I didn't even scratch the surface of the winner's table in that one. That was tough.
They still had you eating at the kids' table?
Yeah. Still had me eating the 4-nugget meal.
4 nuggets and corn.
I wasn't satisfied with that. So I tried harder. It was just like, and then I tried with Smooth Criminal. My Smooth Criminal was not very good. It was okay. It wasn't very good. I shouldn't have been doing it, honestly. Just like Suave, you were saying, some things you just shouldn't do. I just really liked the song. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, yeah, let me try it.
Dude, I don't know why. I could just picture, like, after you do the show and stuff, you're backstage cooling off, drenched in sweat, you know, taking your sweaty dollar bills out of your underwear. And Suave comes up, throws an arm over your shoulder. He's like, hey, bro, there's just some songs you just shouldn't do.
I'd be like,
maybe not at that moment, not after you just got off stage, you just busted your ass, you drenched, you
sitting there over that fan, the AC vent, trying to cool off. Just casually throw an arm over.
Then somebody comes and gives you bad news, like
you give him that little like one-handed shoulder rub, you know, to give him the consolation. You're like, man, you did good, you did real good, but there's just some songs you just shouldn't do.
Now that's definitely something that, you know, we can talk about, that I think everyone deals with at a certain point. At least the guys who take it seriously, like who are really, really, you know, take pride in their show and their performance. You go out and you'll have those nights sometimes where you feel like you did the best performance of your career. Like everything was on point, the timing was right, the mannerisms were right, the facial expressions were right. You might have even had a good crowd reaction, but you feel as though you came up short in terms of what you made on the main stage. And you're backstage, you know, drying off, you know, trying to catch your breath, you know, still out of breath because the show you put on was just so insane, you know. Mm-hmm. And then finally you look at your tips and you're like, wow, you know, and then sometimes you're just like speechless, you know. And vice versa. There have been times when I felt like I was completely off, or my energy wasn't there, or my crowd interaction wasn't there, and somehow I had an amazing set, And then when that happens, that actually makes me feel bad, because I felt like low key I didn't deserve to have that set, because I know what personal standards I set for myself, and I could have done better. So I don't know. These are like conflicts that I've personally had on stage, and I think a lot of people may have had those, especially if they, take themselves seriously and they pride themselves as entertainers. What are y'all thoughts on that?
Yeah, you're right. That last one, though, shoot. Sometimes I just take it and don't look back. Like, it's like sometimes I've been in a point where it's like, it's not necessarily that I'm not in the zone, but I'm injured. I hurt somewhere, something, and I don't have a choice but to work. Like, I need to work, you know what I'm saying? So it's Saturday, there's 10 parties or something, and I have a sprain somewhere on my body that affects, how I dance, and I'm limited, but I'm still making money somehow. And I guess a lot of times it's just attitude, but there are shortcomings in that too. Like, sometimes, like, I have to tell myself, I even told myself today, I was doing squats, I was like, if this is a performance week, I don't need to go too hard. I typically build a lot on my strength and everything and work out hard other weeks, but during a performance week where I'll be rehearsing, like, you got to think about it so you don't set yourself up for failure. You know what I'm saying? And get yourself hurt right before you have to do a huge show. Yeah. That is the worst. That is the worst. You got to listen to your body, like, sometimes. I don't know, all the time. But if you don't, the timing usually is not, usually you don't get hurt when it's going to be a slow Sunday. You're usually getting hurt on like Thursday night or
right before the weekend.
The day, or Saturday, the day of at the gym. No! Like, yeah. That's failure too.
That's horrible.
You're like, do I really want to bust out the power move tonight?
You know how many people coming out to see you and everything, you all amped up.
Yeah.
For some reason, you feel like you need to try something new in the gym on Saturday morning. Like, oh, weekend warrior, okay.
Nice. Oh, you want to get motivated today? All right.
Say that for Tuesday, pal.
So, for me, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I am one with failure. It is an old friend. One that we sip some cognac with on a regular occasion. If any of you guys know, anybody that plays cards, any kind of card game, doesn't have to be trading card game, doesn't have to be anything that involves cards. There is something called variance, which means you are at the mercy of the deck. You know what I'm saying? You can do all the math and you can do all the things, but the world is a random place and things just sometimes go your way and sometimes don't. You know what I'm saying? And, you could be playing something as simple as blackjack and have $100,000 on the line. And you're like, oh, I'm at 20. I'm good. Hey, I stayed. And the dealer can just go, 2, 3, 5, 2. And you're like, oh, there's no way. They got to hit a face card. They got to. And all of a sudden they hit 21, And so anyone that knows about cards, the people that are good at said card game are typically in the high 50s to low 60 percentiles of wins, which means they're still losing 40 to 45% of the time. And I'm talking about people that are winning big. They have the poker bracelets, they are making a living off of card games, etc., etc. You have to be cool with losing close to half the games you play. And so I have learned that, right? And so I am not comfortable with failing. Do not get me wrong. It's not one of those things like I'm okay with it, but I also do not let it break my stride or deter me from my goal. In fact, I use it as a learning tool, which I know is a cliche thing. Everyone says it, but I really do. When I fail at something, the very first thing I ask is not why me. It's not why did this happen. It's not this and that. It's like, how did this happen? And how can I prevent it from being an issue in the future?
Yep.
And so that's one of the reasons why they always give me my score sheets after strip offs, because I tell them, I'm like, look, I'm not going to post these. I'm not going to complain about it. I just want to see if what I got marked down on is consistent from all the judges. And that's how I know. If it's one of those things where it's random, where I get knocked off for sex appeal on one, I get knocked off for agility on the other, I get knocked off for, crowd applause or appeal on the other, then that's a little bit harder. Then that's personal preference. But if I go up there and I look and it says, originality is low on all 3 or 4, or costuming something, then I know, cool, I gotta upgrade my costume, I gotta upgrade my music choices, things like that. And I've taken that across everything I've done. When I've taught classes, I ask for feedback from my students, and I tell them to always give me creative feedback, good or bad. If it's good, don't just say I'm good, tell me why I'm good, because I explain 3 things 3 different ways, because I pay attention to individuals, or you talk too fast, or you don't take the, stuff that you can use to improve. And same thing when I made investments. If I made money, okay, cool. Why did this investment make me money? Did I get lucky? Was there a pattern? Why did this investment lose me money? How can I prevent myself from investing in things like this in the future, similar things? And so every time I lost, I tried to, I had my little bit of like, man, I tried so hard. That sucks. But okay, I got to try harder. I got to be more efficient in my efforts. Maybe spend a little less money, but put that money in the right spot. Maybe put a little more effort into XYZ. And so, I promise you, I am a 2nd place champion. I've got 2nd place trophies for days, both in our club, at your club, in Miami, all of them. I don't even know what a 1st place trophy looks like. You know what I'm saying? But I took every one of those, and I asked myself, why did I take 2nd? Or how did I take 2nd? And how could I prevent that and improve on that? And so it drove me to the point where every time I performed on a strip off, I wanted to pull out all the stops. I wanted to make it impossible for them not to give me 1st place. I wanted to be Cesar's in the contest and everyone's going for 2nd place. And so little by little, I took my strong points and made them stronger. I took my weak points and reinforced them, and continued to improve and use that drive and that motivation to be like, I'm going to do better in the next one. I'm going to do better in the next one. And to see things. And sometimes I still, once again, took home the 2nd place trophy, but I looked at my score sheets and be like, hey, my sex appeal is at an 8 this time, where it was 6s last time. All right, cool. I'm on to something. And I used that failure and saw the intermittent goals, improved on it, and drove myself. And sometimes I am human. I took a hit. This last strip off, I did Tarzan, and I did an aerial apparatus called straps, where they burn and dig into your wrist, but you spin and you do upside down inverts, and you do feats of strength. And I felt like it kind of went with the Tarzan thing. And one of the judges felt like they wanted to give me a 5 on agility. and yeah. I ain't gonna lie. Like, a small part of me was like, can you tell me which judge this was, so I can ask them what you wanted to see from me, so I can maybe get a 6 or a 7 on agility, because clearly my tribal dancing with apes did not work, and then my aerial skills did not work, and flexibility. Granted, I know I'm not the most flexible human being, but I was like, what? My handstand for tip time did not get me some points. So what did you want to see? Where was my shortcoming to move that agility over to a 6 or a 7? You know what I'm saying? A respectable number. But yeah, and that's you know what I'm saying? And that's something. Now, the flip side, real quick, one last thing before I shoot it over to you guys, is I did have to realize that it did take a toll on my resources. We're talking about anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks worth of heavy time, heavy money, heavy creativity, investing on choreography, editing to make things perfect. And so I understood that I could not do this every strip off. And so there are occasionally the strip offs where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to come out. I'm going to put on a good show. I'm going to put on a quality show that I'm okay with. I'm going to support my boys, and I hope everyone has a good time.
For sure.
And then there's some where, like, I'm going to kill it. I'm gonna take it outside. I'm gonna put 2 in the back of the head, and we gonna clean up
and walk in with a W.
So yeah, man, that's kind of like my little 2 cents on that when it comes to something that like a contest, whether it's a Spartan race or a strip off or a wrestling match or a boxing match, or shoot, even straight up just b-boy battle, you know what I'm saying? Something that you can actually straight up win and lose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So what about you, Suave? As far as strip offs go, has that ever been a thing for you?
Yeah, I think the highest place I've ever gotten in the strip off is third.
Okay. Hey man, when you're talking about like 18 to 25 dudes, that's respectable.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I know, like, walking
yeah,
in,
I guess.
Walking in the industry, I didn't have any particular skill sets that can be immediately applied to what we do, besides maybe creativity, because I have a background in art. But aside from that, I didn't have rhythm. I didn't understand how to dance for women. I didn't know how to be sexy, any of that stuff. So literally every single year, I've just been getting slowly better at different things and just piecing together my package as an entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
And so at first I used to take it kind of personal, you know, how did I play so low? But then I sat down and I really thought about it. I was like, dude, okay, you're not on the same level as this guy. Not like in a sort of negative self-bashing way, but in a realistic way. Like, I'm not on this guy's level. Look at how much time he put into his choreography, right? So I told myself, okay, I need to put more time into my choreography if I'm going to take myself seriously as an entertainer. But look at how much dedication this guy has in terms of his physique, his training, his diet, his nutrition. Look at how disciplined he was in the weeks leading up to this. You know, look what he was eating. Look what I was eating. Okay, this guy decided he was going to cut alcohol. Okay, I was drinking every weekend leading up to this weekend. So obviously I'm not going to be as lean as this guy because I had alcohol in my diet or whatever. This guy was practicing his moves every night before work. This guy was stretching more, you know, and that's something that I need to improve on is stretching, you know, so to improve my flexibility. So I just take it like one piece at a time, because if I take on too much at once, then I just get overwhelmed and I start to create unrealistic goals for myself. So I'm at a point now where I'm not so much concerned with placing when it comes to competitions. I just want to get better and learn as much as possible, you know, and not focus on, okay, am I the most popular guy tonight? Because realistically, that can change. The way I see it is, and this is not to discredit any of the winners, but let's say if we did a strip off one night and we had a certain placing, if the strip off was held on a different night, there might have been a different placing. That's possible, you know. Not saying that it would be dramatically different, because it wouldn't. I think the top three guys would still be the same top three guys, but the order might be different depending on what the judges like personally that night. And that's something that took me actually years to figure out working in this industry, is that no matter what, people have their preferences, and
there is a level of there are certain categories that have a level of bias in them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And that's just something that, completely. Like, someone might lose points from a judge just because they did a gothic or a theatrical show, and that judge particularly might prefer hip-hop dance choreography.
Yeah.
So it has nothing against the show. It's just a personal preference thing. So continue.
Especially
but you're right.
the originality category. It's like, what does that really mean? You know, I remember a few years ago I did a Prince act, and I put a lot into it, and I got scored so low on originality. I was completely confused, because I was like, this is probably the most creative show I've done in my career up until that point, in terms of the costume, the mannerisms, being theatrical, and having choreography, like just everything that I put into it.
It was incredible, dog, no lie.
It was actually one of my favorite shows, but, you know, hey, it wasn't in the cards for me that day. And the guys that did place, I strongly believe they deserved to place, because their shows were amazing as well. But that just stood out to me is how low I scored in that category, creativity. I was just very confused by that, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, and that's something that's part of it that you have to disconnect and compartmentalize for yourself as well. Is just because your show did poorly doesn't in the contest doesn't mean that your show was poor. Because at the end of the day, I've never seen it, but I had more than a handful of people mention that show to me and how great it was, both men and female. So that says something. When someone brings up your show, you know, like that says something. Regardless of what you know the critics might say, so to speak. So, Dingo, you got any closing thoughts on that, brother?
Well, I think I told y'all my most painful loss. I think that was the Egyptian one. Anything after that, I might have known deep inside. Well, I think you remember that Aztec one, Suave? Remember that one?
Is that one?
Yeah.
I'm trying to sound it out.
Man.
I think so.
Yeah. Where we had on the yellow and I had on the red.
Yeah, with the feathers.
Yeah, I think that could have. Yeah, I think that could have placed. It should have placed. I think, at least. I don't remember who else. I don't remember who did what that strip off, but I thought that act was gonna be. I thought that act was pretty strong.
Did you do it in more than one event or only that one?
Just that one.
Oh, see, I really do feel like what Suave was saying as far as just doing it on a different night can sometimes change things up. I feel like you should at least give every show 3 chances.
And that reminds me too, in terms of categories. I remember you specifically, Dingo. There was a year that, for whatever reason, they actually scored you low on the body category. Remember that night?
Drunk.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Like I think like sometimes we have to I don't know what the process is, but screen the judges some type of way to make sure that there's no bias
we need to not give them free alcohol.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They were drunk as hell. That's all that was. Intoxication, inebriation. She was drunk. And you know what it was? I don't think she meant to score my body low. I think she thought, for whatever reason, because I don't think it was just on that. There were some other questionable markings on the whole sheet. So I think she thought 1 was the highest. And 10 was the lowest.
Oh, God. Way to justify that one, Dingo. I like that. Nah, man. She just reverse scored it. You know what I'm saying? Nah, this two's an 8. This two's an 8.
Nah. You know what proves it? You know what proves it is that she gave, I don't know if you ever met him, Cesar, but you remember how great his physique was, Suave? Chance. She gave Chance a 2 as well. And his physique was
that makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She probably thought that, because I think she gave somebody else like a 9 when, you know, it didn't make any sense.
I mean, you don't know, bro. Maybe he was waterlogged that day. He had a little too much salt for lunch. You know what I'm saying?
Every day.
Maybe she picked up on that. All right.
It's a high sodium diet every day.
Hey, that's me. I'm not gonna lie. Sodium is the hardest thing for me to cut out when it comes to dieting. I can cut out sweets. I can cut out alcohol. But when it comes
but guess what? Guess what? But your genes work to where they filter that out.
What you mean, yo genes?
Yours, your genes, your genetics.
I'm just giving a crap, dude. It's all good.
You can. Hey,
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
You can.
You saw the look across his face.
Take all that sodium if you want. It ain't gonna show on you.
I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far.
Well, you perform. You do too much. You're too active. It will not. You're too active, bro.
All right. So one last thing I want to do, it gives you guys a little bit of time to figure out some final words for this, because we are creeping up on an hour, even with the pre-show. So
this is a good one.
Sometimes you will fail at something before you even start. And it is important to have a solid follow through. And what this means is you cannot dwell on it. Part of the recovery process is to move on and adjust. This could be, what I mean by failing before you start is you could be prepping for a Spartan race, right? You've been prepping for 3 months to do this race. And it's the week of or 2 weeks before. And like Suave said, you're feeling kind of motivated. You know, you're looking cute. So you want to lift a little more or something. And all of a sudden you hurt yourself. And now you can't do the race. And you have to accept that moment is gone, but assess, reevaluate, and reestablish your goals. Are you going to do the next race? Are you going to focus on recovering? Or was that it? Are you moving on? And I say this because I have a great example of this. I was hired to perform at the Dallas Fetish Ball to do aerials. Luckily, I am one of the few handful of males that do circus, because honestly, in circus, there's probably about 95% women, 5% males. So I have a slight advantage, even though I'm not that good, simply because I'm male. And so I was contracted to work it, and I thought it would be a good promotion for the club because it's one of the biggest events of the year for Dallas. And obviously that group of people, that genre of people that attend those events are comfortable with themselves and with others. So I feel like they're more inclined to be willing to come to La Bear. And so Alex allowed me to do it, and I went and performed the show. And so and this part was on me, and I learned my lesson. That's why I'm going to mention this. I asked a friend of mine that performed there regularly at the event, hey, how much height am I working with? She said 18 feet. I said, cool, awesome. Turns out I got lucky, and the studio I teach at, their rigs are at 18 feet. So I'm like, perfect, awesome. So me wanting to go all out like I normally do, like you guys have seen me on show, I end up choreographed a super difficult routine. I wanted to put in all the coolest stuff. And so I used all 18 feet of the fabric, literally from the ground all the way up to the rig point and back down several times, right? So I get this routine, I get the stamina, I get the timing of it down. Everything's looking good. I'm still a little frustrated with myself because it's a lot of work, and the tail end of it's not getting there. But, it's one of those things where I have to do the whole routine. So I can't be like, oh, I'm just going to practice the last part of it, because I need to practice the routine with me being as tired as I'm going to be after 2 minutes or 3 minutes of flying to do that last part. I can't do that last part when I'm fresh. And so I just kept having to do the entire routine. So 2 weeks out, the week of, I apologize. So the show is on a Saturday. That Monday, the coordinator that sends out an email saying, hey, to all my aerialists, just want to let you know we're going to have the rigger come in today, set everything up, make sure everything's nice and sturdy. So when we come in for tech rehearsal, you can hang up your apparatus and we're good to go and everything's kosher for everybody. And so as of right now, expect it to be 14 feet, but we'll let you know if anything changes. And I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, this is not good. Yeah. Typically, if I had choreographed it a little differently, then sure. But I choreographed the entire routine on 18 feet using all 18 feet. So I went to practice. Yeah, and I can't be like, hey, I need more height. So can you extend the roof or drop the floor? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just stuck like Chuck, right? So I said, all right. Like, hey, it's on me. It was my fault. I asked a friend instead of, not that they were wrong, but I should ask the actual coordinator. Long story short, what ended up happening is my friend that performs there performed over the crowd over the dance floor. And they set up a stage on the side for all the performers to perform because not everyone was an aerialist. So that stage was 4 feet high. And that's what threw off the measurements. So long story short, I try to modify the routine and I can't. Like, there's no way to do it for 18 feet or 14 feet. So I have to redo the whole routine. So I do the whole routine.
Damn it.
I get 3 days of really good practice in. Still not happy with it, but hey, c'est la vie. Yeah. I get to the event for tech rehearsal. I set up my rig. I go to do my test run, and my foot kicks a speaker that's sitting at 12 feet. That's 2 feet away from the silks. I'm like, okay then. Guess I actually have 11 feet worth of fabric to work with. So needless to say... Oh my God. So needless to say... I mean, it was done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the whole routine was scrapped, and I felt defeated. But at the end of the day, I'm doing a solo routine, so no one else has to learn their choreography. No one knows my choreography, minus those that were there at tech rehearsal. And so I just decided, like, okay, yes, I'm going to improv.
Yeah.
And I accepted defeat and realized that, and it was, I'm not going to lie, every aerialist that was there was obviously not impressed with my show because it was just a freestyle. You know, I hit some beats, but some were sloppy, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, the crowd was inebriated enough and the music was loud enough where they absolutely loved it. So for me, it was a failure. And I had to, you know, decide like, hey, am I going to dwell on this or I'm going to put, you know, accept my defeat and push on and complete the mission. And so I did. And, you know, like I said, for the crowd, which is who it was, both the crowd and the owner of the club absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And so I salvaged it. And that's something that everyone has to deal with. You know what I mean? Like, and I mentioned Spartan races for people, but sometimes it's something where it's a one-shot deal. Like, let's say, there you go. America's Got Talent. What's the other thing? The singer one.
So you think you can, The Voice?
The Voice. There you go. Let's say The Voice only comes into town once, every 2 years, right? Because they do a season a year and then they don't always go to the same cities. So you could be training for 3 months to be on that show for the audition, and then your voice cracks or you get something happens to your voice, and that's it. It's not going to be like, hey, they'll have another race in another month.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out what you're going to do about that and how you're going to deal with that, because it could be devastating or it could be life-changing or it could be a plethora of things. And so, you know, that's a thing as well. Man, that felt really wordy. But yeah, so
hey, that was actually a very that was good. I did not know that. That's man, I felt your pain every time you told me a new number.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, I'm on the edge of my seat. What's he gonna do now? Dun dun dun.
Nice save. Did I ever tell you what a great playmaker Mandingo Jones is? That's why he's the Southwest King. But those kind of playmakes, those kind of sidekick saves right there is the reason why he also has the Northeast Kingdom. You know what I'm saying? He just expands every time. His kindness just stretches as far as the eye can see. All right, so you guys got anything else you want to mention on this topic before we move on to our closing statements?
Well, I guess I've had a couple of failures in my timeline in music.
Yeah, go ahead, Playboy. Throw it out there.
But that would also stem from finances, because without finances, music doesn't really move properly. And you know, I could just record, release, but there are a lot of things I need to get done first that would make the record and the release worth all of the time and effort. I don't want to shortchange myself. So coming up with the finances has proven to be a lot more difficult, especially after the shift at the old club. That it's kind of like it's like you're ready, like, okay, now I know what to do. Now I'm armed with the information. And then boom, the rug gets pulled out from underneath your feet. And then you just hit the ground and you're like, well, damn, now I have to get up. But getting up is way harder than it was before because some of your resources have been taken from you. So that was, well, I just tapped the mic. That was very defeating at first, but you're either going to stay there or you're going to do what you got to do to stand back up. And all you can do when you're standing back up is arm yourself with more knowledge that you're going to use as soon as you get to that point. So there's always a way to respond to these sort of things across the board. But that was a very tough loss that I had to take last year and some of this year. It's been really, it would, certain people, it would probably end them in the pursuit of what they want.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to have to, like, in these particular situations, you're going to have to realize that you can't go backwards by continuing to dwell on the failure itself, especially when some things are just out of your control. So I had to push upward from there, and I'm pretty much back ready to, like, it's like I've been holding that arrow The whole time I've been trying to get up, and I'm ready to let it go soon. You know?
Yeah, just waiting for wind to change in the right direction.
Yeah, but that was just one of the. That was just another example of a shortcoming, and it tied into dancing a little bit because of that's where my finances come from. So.
Yeah. At least in the meantime, but slowly but surely, your fan base will get there. They'll come through.
I gotta release music for that to happen.
Actually, you know what, man? Like, you might want to consider getting on the Patreon. Because I know a lot of musicians are on Patreon, and they just do it to where their fans pay or pledge an X amount based on every song they release. And you could just do it to where your fans, the ones that are pledging to help you produce music, are the only ones that get access to your music.
That's something to consider deeply.
Yeah, and I've seen plenty of things where they do rewards where, like, if you pledge X amount per song, like, you'll do like a 30-second song for them specifically, or things like that. Like, there's tons of stuff you can do, but I've seen a lot of musicians on there because you just do it per song, and it motivates you to push more music, but then you're kind of also feeding the cause. It seems like quite a good thing, but I could be wrong. Like, we'll have to talk about it offline a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out.
Suave, any final words?
No final words from me.
All right, well. Well said. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. We are running a little long, and I feel like we've all kind of mentioned a less than great event. So I know some of the fans are going to hate me for this because they think this is the best part of the show. But I think we're going to have to skip the less than great event since we've already mentioned it throughout the show and just go straight into our best events of the week. And then we'll close it off with some events that we got coming up and our social media. You guys good with that?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and crack a lack and do the best event because mine is actually quite humorous. Some might consider it a worst event, but I thought it was absolutely hilarious. So Saturday night, club is bumping. 250, 300 women in that club, right? Stage is rocking. Guys are going up hardcore, full speed. We're crack-a-lacking, right? Something ends up happening, and our DJ has to step down for a little bit, right? I don't know specifically because I was getting ready to go up on stage, and when there's too many people in the DJ booth, I typically leave it alone to give everyone their space. So some stuff happens. We end up having to adjust. So they call you offside stage. You come up in the DJ booth because you have some DJing experience, right? And typically we've had Taylor Cole and Randy help on the mic as well, like kind of a team effort to make things happen and stuff like that, so people can relax their voices, do dances, etc., etc. Help other guys on stage. So, everyone's like, hey, man, what's going on, this and that? I'm like, yo, I'm cool. Do whatever you guys got to do. Like, I get it. Things are a little different. Like, I'm chill. I'll go out there. I'll put on the best show I got. We're good. What do we need to do? Lights, music. I'm like, don't worry about the lights. Don't worry about them. Just pick a color, leave it on there. That's cool. No strobe. And my set music is completely done, right? And I did this on purpose as an insurance policy. So whether people are inebriated, injured, doing a dance, taking a crap, don't matter what, things are going to work. I know how my track's going to go, right? From start to finish, all the way from the intro.
Yeah.
So I told them, put hype, shower, full MC. That's it, right? So it's my shower with a hype track beat on it, and the full MC means I already pre-recorded Caden on it. He's gonna MC the whole thing. We good to go. So you being the DJ that you are, you're still gonna say some words because you got a feel for the music, and you're on the mic. Might as well, right? Cool. Well, in everyone's panic, we have 2 wireless mics. So we ended up giving one to Taylor Cole, and then of course Randy was like, "Well, I'm gonna help out," so I got the mic too, right? And then the owner, being a bit of a micromanager when things are different on a Saturday night, was in the DJ booth with you. So I go up on stage, and I got to tell you, this has got to be one of the most difficult stages I have ever done. And I'm going to tell you why. 2 reasons. A, I was fighting a laugh so hard the entire time I was on stage. Because of B, with 4 people on the mic, there was literally more MCing going on, 5 if you count Caden, on the track. There was more MCing going on my set than music being played. So I couldn't hear any of my music cues. Yeah. And it was like Taylor Cole would say something because he sounds awesome on the mic. And then Randy wasn't going to get outdone. So he was going to say something on the mic. And then, you know, it would come to the climax of the song. So you would say something, Mandingo, because that's when you're supposed to say something. And then the owner was like, well, man, I love talking on the mic. So somebody scream. And it got to the point where the girl, it looked like a tennis match. But for like when to scream, girls were like, and oh my God.
It was just, oh man.
And then it was funny because then it was like, you'd be like, someone would be like, make some noise. And then like 2 seconds later, the pre-recorded Caden will be like, let me hear you scream. And then I take my shirt off to nobody saying anything. And then like, it'd be my time to take my pants off or jump on the silks. But somebody was saying something over the music. So I was like, crap, there went my cue. Oh my God. It was absolutely hilarious. And then sometimes people would say something different. Sometimes they'd say the same thing. You know, it was like, how many times can Cesar weigh, you know, what was it? 280 pounds of Twisted Steel and Sex Appeal. Like, I think I was
280 pounds.
180, 230, 250, all in one set. Oh, God.
Man.
It was absolutely
always. I'm like, what?
Oh, God. Oh, it
Twisted
was so
Steel
good.
and Sex Appeal.
And then, you know, Randy being on side stage, he's going to give a random drunk girl the mic. So be like, you having a good time? And then some girl's like, hell yeah. Voice all crackling, swallowing the mic.
Can't hear any of your cues.
Oh, God. It was absolutely hilarious, man.
I finally realized on yours, I'm like, yo, y'all don't say nothing. His already has his. But Randy's still like, oh, ladies, let me hear you. And I'm like, no, stop.
Oh, God, man.
Let me hear you. No, it's going to say it. Stop.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Just don't do it on this one.
It was great. Absolutely great. Like one of the most memorable stages I will ever have. I mean, I think the girls were more tired than I was from trying to react to everything. Run up the stage, sit back down, scream, don't scream, turn this way, look that way.
Like, bro, and then your mix ends and you can't say anything until like halfway into the Cesar. Like, yeah, you gotta wait about 3/4 of that to get done and be like, all right, ladies. Because every time I've been like, all right, ladies, and all of a sudden Caden's voice pops out, make some noise. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Man.
Catch him on stage, catch him on stage, catch him on stage, too. Oh, God, it was like if someone took the cha-cha slide, the electric slide, and what was that other one? The Cupid shuffle and the wobble, and just had them on 2 turntables and was mixing in between the 2 of them, switching back and forth just to mess with the crowd.
Oh, man.
Oh, I think all the ladies had to sit down for a second and relax to recoup from all the excitement from my stage.
Yeah, it was pure chaos on the microphone that night because everybody felt like they had to do something.
Yeah, no doubt.
It was no, you need 2 people at most. You don't need 5 people on the microphone. That's ridiculous.
Well, it was funny too because it was like the beginning of Shower is very quiet, very pull people in. You know what I mean? Try to have an intimate moment, and so there's a reason why the music is a little low key and there's not much emceeing because you want to suck girls in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was like 2 or 3 seconds of like low, quiet. People are like starting to stop, look at their phones, be like, "What's going on?" Things are a little quiet, and then you just hear it be like, "You having a good time?" It was just like, "Oh, thanks, bro."
I think at some point I just switched off the microphones.
Okay. Or Randy going to a random girl to scream and you hear like, "Where's my phone?" "Oh yeah."
Or when we're in the booth and we're talking and we don't have it clicked off so that people can hear us out there.
Oh, God. That's freaking hilarious.
It's just like, I don't know where he is. And then the girls can hear it over there.
What song? What act? You need a girl.
You over there Can you hear me? In the background, I just hear, hey, what act you doing?
Man, you got it down, bro. I might have to do a remix with the Mandingo remix.
I love that song. It's just the whole feel of it.
It catches you.
Mm-hmm.
It catches you. I'm telling you, that song does so much more work for that show than anything else.
I just want to close my eyes and listen to it. Can you hear me? That's a great.
I think we need to do that one of these Sundays when we're feeling it. Is just keep playing that song and have every guy interpret the song in their own way, in their own act. Oh, I think that'd be hilarious. See
some of them would piss me off.
See how many times. I think there was one night where we all did the same act back to back to back.
For real, just differently.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So it was. Oh, man, I can't remember what act it was. I really can't. But it was one of those like solo man walkouts. And like I think 4 guys did it back to back to back, and it was I think we all did Hitchhiker. I think that's what it was, because Brandon did it, and I was after Brandon, so I was like, hey, I'm gonna mess with Brandon and do Hitchhiker, and I think the person behind me was like, I'm gonna do Hitchhiker, and then and the regulars were laughing their butts off, but I think the 2 or 3 GP that we had in there were like, I think it took them 3 guys before they realized we were all doing the same show, and we were just messing around. They're like, that the same show?
Man, they need to go ahead and slide that over there to me to make some quick changes and edits to that act, because it's a great act. But when that guy goes, yeah, if it's a little bear guy in his T-back and his knee-high white boots.
Looking like WWE wrestler. Or no, WWF for that time. WWE wasn't even a thing then.
I bet those were the days. I know somebody who still wears those boots. He moves very gracefully in them foreplay. He moves very gracefully in those boots.
Yeah.
He moves like, have you ever seen somebody take an octopus out of the ocean and put it on a boat, how it slides across the ground? That's how he moves.
Damn. All right. That got real.
He just slides around. He's like a boneless fish.
All right. So much for this being a short show. All right. Suave, what's your best event of the week, man?
Honestly, Ace's birthday bash on Saturday, man. It was a really good turnout. It was fun. We went out, to some bars and nightclubs prior, just to, promote the show and everything like that. And it was just real fun. It was a really fun event. It was an amazing show he put on. I enjoyed it. Yeah, That's probably my best thing that happened to me this week, or best experience this week.
All right, right on. True. Yeah, birthdays are a blast. When you have a veteran like Ace, it's always a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dingo Jones. Dingo Jones. What you got for us, brother?
Well, actually on Saturday, I've been over here, Central Texas. I worked at the gallery on Saturday, and I went up last. There was some girls in there, but it appeared that until Juice had went up, it appeared that they had been kind of like, they've been kind of lackluster. I guess the energy in there wasn't great. So Juice kind of set it up for me to knock it down. So I did like the light stick, but
nice.
I think what really made me feel so electric that day was the fact that I hadn't been there in a while. I hadn't danced there in a while, and that old familiarity with the place just kind of seeps into you, and because I've done a lot on that stage. Even when the catwalk was there, like I have a lot, like I had my own routine. Like I did everything. Like I was very well, what's the word I'm looking for? I was very, I knew the stage very well. You know what I'm saying? I did a lot. And that familiarity just came back to me when I was there. And I danced with, I just was like, yeah, I'll go through a couple of older songs. I danced to a couple of older songs that I haven't danced to in a while. And man, it's just been so long since you've done something in a certain form and fashion, and then you get to do it again, and you've done it so much that your expertise is just like you don't have to think too hard about it. It's just kind of like, all right, I guess this is how I'm gonna boom, and then it just goes from there. You know what I mean? You know that feeling, that high level of familiarity.
That reminds me of the scene that they do in movies whenever someone like took an injury or quit something and they haven't done it in years, and then like the star of the movie makes them like, you should do it, and they're like, nah, and then like in a quiet night with no one around, they go and do the thing, and they're all like awkward for about 20 seconds, and then the music picks up, and then all of a sudden they can do it, whether, you know, and they're just like, that's right, I'm home.
Yep.
That's why I see happening.
With the final countdown in the back. Yeah. Montage time, baby. Montage time. We're going to whip you back into shape. But yeah.
All in 3 minutes of film time.
That familiarity, though, yeah, it hit me real. I pretty much uppercut the crowd because I was running like, cause
damn.
I have a thing, and Suave see me do this a lot. I have a thing where it's risky as hell, but
you just punch the first girl on stage. You just see, someone's making it rain. No, they just got the money knocked out their hands by the uppercut.
Shoryuken. So,
oh god.
But what I mean by that though is like, basically my energy. I projected a lot of energy onto him, and Suave seen me do this before when they're not making noise. I had a relationship with XL or anybody in the booth where I'd point at him and be like, turn the music down. Mm-hmm. And then I'd be like, ladies. And I'll just scream at them. And it's risky though, but on the right night, if you call it at the right time, it'll wake everybody up. So I went with that route, and I did a lot of like clapping certain songs. And at that point, the crowd was awake. So I did this thing where I hopped off the stage and like ran around the little dance area we got and hopped back up onto the stage. Oh, excuse me. And I just, we almost made it. Hey, I'm not the only one who's done it. Trey's done it before. Oh, excuse me, big dog. I didn't mean to.
And he does it again right after.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Oh, you've been on the show with Trey. Yeah, that's
Oh, sorry about that.
No, man, nah. I mean, you know what I'm saying.
But yeah, I would say that was the best because I got to feel that familiarity again, and I've been rehearsing with the guys there, so it was just nice to see people again because I haven't seen them in a while, and they were my crew for 6 years.
Yeah, you walk off stage with your fist up in the air, head down, be like, still got it.
That's how it felt. As soon as it was like boom, as soon as it was done, you just snap back to reality, like, oh, I guess I am here at the gallery.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Then you get off stage, adrenaline starts to fade, and you're like, my legs are cramping. I can't breathe.
Let's not talk about leg cramps.
Oh, we can make a whole video on that. Yeah.
Oh. Man, wouldn't that be awesome if we somehow recorded stage all the time, and then I could make like a montage, like 5 minutes worth of leg cramps on stage, just seeing all the shenanigans.
You gotta just keep going. That awkward smile, like bodybuilders.
They're trying to body roll with a limp leg.
Hey, I actually forgot one small failure that I think, even though we're at the end of the show,
like trying not to cuss on tape.
That I always fail with that. I can't help it. So whenever I do like that aerial dive, most of the time, unfortunately, only most of the time, my hands hit the ground first. And I want to say 2 or 3 times my chin has hit the ground first.
Ooh.
Ooh. Yeah.
I mean, it can't be as bad as a dancer that we will refuse or remain unnamed or nameless, that he would do it, and I think he just didn't understand how the move worked, so he would just flop down on his knees every time, to the point where even the girls on stage were like, ooh. And every time he keep doing it, we're like, bro, that's not how it works, man. I mean, the girls would audibly and physically, like visually, like cringe. It's like, bro, that ain't sexy, dude. That's like downright painful. Oh yeah, man. Yeah. I'm glad you still got that great jawline though, Dingo. Man, glad you still got it intact.
Fortunately, my hands hit at the same time, or at least right behind it. It's not like my chin just ate it all. Yeah. But it's almost like doing certain things. Like every once in a while, you make not necessarily a mistake. Well, yeah, I guess a mistake. I did make a mistake. I miscalculated where my hands were supposed to be. I probably shouldn't have jumped at all that day, and I did. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Tat, I thought was going to be a funny one. Because I ate it. I was like, "Mwah!" And I just got up and was like, yeah. And then afterwards, fortunately, I ain't bleeding nothing. It was sore. Just felt like I got punched right underneath. Like, it felt like I got punched right on my gums. Just nothing else. Just boom, straight in the gums.
Oh man, let me show you how my brain works, right? So you did that, right? And you got a bloody lip. So I was like, man, you could have just slapped in fangs and done a vampire skit. And then I was like, vampire. And then I was like, Blade. And then I'm like, you could do a Blade act. And then I was like, Cesar, chill out. All that in a matter of about half a millisecond. I came up with the routine for you.
That's all good, but I think CJ will make a good Blade.
Oh,
I told him that when I did my True Blood.
Mm-hmm.
CJ make a great Blade. Yeah. The glasses and everything, it'll be perfect. Oh man, we gotta try to convince him to do that.
All right. Let's go ahead and wrap it up, man. We're about to start creeping on 2 hours. Holy shnikes. All right. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that is gonna do it. Let's talk about the next 2 events that we have coming up. Dingo, you can go ahead and bring up yours since yours is this weekend, because I'm gonna hopefully get this podcast out tomorrow. It is the Magic Stick Strip Off, June 30th. Dingo.
That's right. This Sunday, June 30th, the Mr. Magic Stick Male Strip Off, featuring entertainers from all over the tri-state area. We got people coming from, we got a new guy coming down from Detroit named Hypnotizer. He's coming down to hit you with the hypnosis, ladies. That's what I'm talking about. We got a lot of veterans in the game that y'all haven't seen perform in a while, stepping back on stage, doing full-blown shows. And our hours have resumed just for this night all the way till 2 a.m. So it will be an all-night affair. You can grab the tickets on Eventbrite. You can find me, Mandingo Jones, on Facebook, or James Lamani on Facebook. And you can follow the action there, get the Eventbrite link, and then just go from there. All the table pricing, all the seat pricing is all up there clearly for y'all to see.
Sweet. All right, let me go ahead and throw mine out there, or ours, because you could be here too. All right, ladies, July 19th, we have the Sexiest Man in Texas contest. That's right. See the biggest collection of machismo and testosterone this side of the Mississippi. All in one night. It is a fantastic night, though, no doubt. It is one of the funnest strip-offs to go to. You get to see us come out in 3 different forms of attire, to include suits, clubwear, and swimwear. And then we all put on a phenomenal show. Most guys, about 3/4 of the dudes, come up with new shows to present and try to take it down, because it is quite the prestigious title. And Caden will call you out as the sexiest man in Texas for the rest of the year. And the last thing you want to do is be called the runner-up of the sexiest man. This dude's the number 2. So if number 1's sick, you can get your second sexiest man in Texas. But check that out again. That is July 19th. We're going to have guys from Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, Chicago, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, all coming in to compete to find out who is the best, sexiest estrogen. Well, I don't even know. I was trying to come up with something cool, but I was going to say estrogen. That's not going to match. So let's just say the sexiest man in Texas, even though they could potentially live in Chicago or Miami. So yeah.
Yes.
There you go. Thank you. With the save, the Morgan Freeman. Yes.
Was that Morgan? Wasn't that more like, I guess I haven't done Bane in a while, huh? Yes.
There you go. Nice. Or the Sean Connery. Oh, yes.
Man, one of the most distinguished voices, and Patrick Stewart.
All right, guys. Let's go ahead and call this show here. Suave, where can people reach you?
Suave the Dream on Instagram, or you can follow my photography page, Ellison Editorial, also on Instagram.
Dingo, where can people get those fat beats you're dropping?
Hold up, man. If you're trying to find me on my dance page, it's Mandingo Jones on Facebook. All of my Instagram, Henny Train, HENETRAIN. One word. Oh, quick to interject. Due to certain marketing purposes, I might be changing it all to Mandingo Jones or just Dingo Jones. So be on the lookout for that. But every single person will be alerted if I make that change. However, for the meantime, you can find me on Henny Train on Instagram, HENETRAIN. SoundCloud, you can find me soundcloud.com / or in the search bar, HENE-train. On Twitter, you can catch me HEN3 as a backwards E. HEN3 TRAIN. So Henny Train, but with a 3 as the second E. I believe that is all. Oh, my music page on Facebook is HENE, Henny.
I think you should change your stage name to Henny Train, and then that way for your intro, we just have like a locomotive coming down the tracks.
An old school locomotive.
But that's just me. I mean, hey, it's better than the DJ.
Hey, that's a staple in the introduction community.
Oh, for sure. No doubt. No doubt.
It's DJ Khaled.
DJ Khaled! Woo-wee!
I really feel like that originated in reggaeton, though, because I feel like when reggaeton first started, like the first 30 seconds of the song was the dude calling out his name as well as the entire crew that got him there. So in every song, so there was no. I think they did it on purpose. That way, people weren't like, "Oh man, what's this song? Like I know the name. Hold up, you just gotta wait."
We the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, you knew everything about it.
We
the best. Or you remember? Do y'all remember Evil? Y'all remember Evil Empire mixtapes? It'll be like,
"We back again." No kidding. You don't say.
They'd be like, "Evil Empire will wrinkle your school clothes and take your lunch money." Like they used to say stuff like that on their mixtapes. It's funny.
Hey, it's memorable. It makes an impression, right?
That's the same dude that's like, "Damn, son, where'd you find this?"
Oh yeah. Oh man, I completely forgot about that one. Nice.
Yeah, he was on there.
Oh, now I kind of want to put that. In my mixes now. Oh,
yeah, don't forget Canon. Y'all remember that?
Mm-mm. We can always go with the Master P.
Na.
It was like a 3-second gap in between that too. You hear the and then you're waiting for the song to start, and then you're gonna say something. It's like na.
They knew how to build the suspense, man.
All right, guys. You already know where to find me at. I'm gonna throw out the Instagram real quick. Just Cesar LeBear 7. It's got all my stuff on there. You can hit me up on all my places. The one thing I will say, instead of throwing out my social media, I guess I just did one of them, but not the other plethora of them. Or if you guys can and you like the show, by all means, follow these guys. Throw them some likes. Rate the show. If you're listening to it on iTunes or SoundCloud, share it with your friends. Spread the word. Let me know. Leave me some feedback, both good and bad. Just get a little traffic going. It really helps me out. Lets me know I am a numbers kind of guy. Statistics. You can ask Suave. We were just looking at numbers for different shows and topics before we went live. So I really appreciate it. Try to share the show with at least one of your friends and see if they could share it with one of theirs and kind of spread the word, spread the love, regardless of what platform you're listening to it on. And yeah, that's it. Guys, thank you so much, Suave and Dingo, for being on the show. I really appreciate it. You guys are the best, and I hope everyone enjoyed having you guys on the show as much as I did.
Sir, it was fun.
This was a fun one, despite the subject.
No doubt, true. You can always put a silver lining. There's always a silver lining.
Yeah.
But all right, that's gonna do it for us, guys. So until next time, keep bringing the rain.
focused, I'm in my zone. You can binge watch like Game of Thrones. Reserve your judgments, don't throw no stones. Who's and I scream as loud as you don't. Airplane mode on tablets and phones. Caesar's crowd pleasers is now on. Caesar, the crowd pleaser. If you need to pick me up, ladies, we gon' change your demeanor. Caesar, the crowd pleaser. We gon' do a little dance, we gon' make the naysayers believe us.